And welcome back to Chicago Bulls Insider. Today, we are talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo, and we are talking about if the Chicago Bulls should be interested in Giannis. We're also going to be talking about some of the rumors that are swirling around Giannis and the Chicago Bulls. And so before we go ahead and jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Wazella's slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. So make sure you hit that subscribe, you hit that like button, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the content today. And so we're talking about Giannis, and look, Giannis has been, in rumors with the Chicago Bulls. Many people feeling that Giannis might have some interest in asking out from the Milwaukee Bucks, and maybe the Chicago Bulls would be a destination here. And so, look, we see the first link to him. And so this is in an article that you can find on Bleacher Nation. And within this article, you will be able to see the quote that is from the writer Howard Beck from The Ringer. And so he writes about the NBA. He's an NBA insider / reporter there. He's been doing it for quite some time. And you can see where he was on the Zach Lowe show. So if you go to this article, you go in there, you're going to be able to see the exact, interview or whatever they're going on the podcast. And you can see where he said this. And so this is the exact quote from Howard Beck and what he has to say. And so he says, look, he poked around. He's kind of looking for some intel, as you can see here. And from these rumblings, he was told that one of the LA teams, one of the New York teams, or maybe Miami, which is not a big market, but a glamorous market, mid-sized market. I think they threw Chicago in there. I can't remember if Houston came up, but it should. All right, and so you see it right there. This is the exact quote. And so you see that he's saying that he thinks that Chicago was in there. And so, look, that leads us to just the point of, should the Chicago Bulls be interested in trading for Giannis? And so first and foremost, if Giannis is, available for the trade, I don't think that the Chicago Bulls should necessarily trade for Giannis. I think that, to be honest with you, the direction in which the Chicago Bulls are in, it does not match what Giannis would want. Because I think that if Giannis is trying to get out of Milwaukee, he's trying to get to a winning situation. And so I think the only thing that would work if he were to come to the Chicago Bulls would be, one, it's a short drive. Two, it's a bigger market than the Milwaukee Bucks, but that is it. I don't think that the Chicago Bulls would be in position to put Giannis in contention for a championship. It's just not there. And I don't think that this is something that AK and the front office would want to entertain. In fact, I just think that if the Chicago Bulls were to entertain a trade for Giannis, they most certainly would have to give up Josh Giddey probably in a deal. You're probably going to have to give up, players like Modest Wazella's and also to Coby White. And then you're also going to have to give up some draft capital, because I would have to think that if the Milwaukee Bucks are going to let Giannis go anywhere, right? Let's say he comes out, he requests a trade, and let's say Chicago is the team that he wants to go to, they most certainly are probably going to be in a teardown situation. And if you're in a teardown situation, what that means is everybody's got to go. So Giannis, he's gone. Dame would probably be gone. I would say that, Bobby Portis and those guys, they have player options, but anybody that, just has been linked to this team to try to get them to win, talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, I think that they would be out the building. I even think that, heck, they might even try to get some draft picks for Doc Rivers. No, I'm just joking. Now, in all seriousness, they would try to get as much draft capital as possible. And so not only are they going to take the young stars from the Chicago Bulls, but they also, too, would be looking to take a significant amount of draft capital to get Giannis, because this is a team, talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, they don't have control of their first-round pick, I believe, until 2031. And so they're going to be very interested in getting as many picks back as possible and as many young players back as possible. And so I think that because of that, that really is not what the Chicago Bulls want to do. And then traditionally, when you think about it, the Bulls are not a team that is going to, spend tons of money, because I think that that's another situation you'd have to think about. If Giannis were to come over, you would need to do some significant heavy lifting there to get him some additional stars over here. And so what that looks like, I don't think it's something that the front office would want to jump into. And so I think that that is why this is probably something that is not realistic. And don't get me, mistaken here. I do think that the bottom line is that when you look at Giannis and the numbers, like, it's definitely, it's going to be worth it for a team. It's just not worth it for the Chicago Bulls. Like I said, you could see the production, you see the numbers, you see the awards. This guy is an NBA champion, no doubt about it. But just his mere presence to the Chicago Bulls is not going to get us over the hump, and it is just not worth it. It is better served for the Chicago Bulls to continue on the path that they have right now, continue to build with their young stars, continue to build through the draft, and not punt on the draft picks, because that is one of the things that I think has been a major issue, I think, here with AK, is the fact that, he's punted, I think, a little bit on the draft picks. And so finally, he's untangled that by getting back the Chicago Bulls, their draft picks, and then also too, getting, the controls or the pick swaps off of them. And so this is a good thing. So you don't want to jump back into speeding up a timeline to try to go win a championship. That did not work when you tried it with DeMar DeRozan, with Zach LaVine, and then getting Lonzo Caruso. Like, it just didn't work. And at this point, you see he's dismantling that and trying to get this team in a different direction. And so you would jump right back into something like that if you go and you get Giannis. And so I would say, no, the Chicago Bulls should not go out, and they should not trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo. So anyway, let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking. Do you feel like that the Chicago Bulls should trade for Giannis? Because I think it's a hard no, that they should not trade for him. And again, this is the first time that we've seen something where somebody is linking him to the Chicago Bulls. And so if you have not seen this, again, you can go on to Bleacher Nation is one of the places where I saw it. And within this article, you will be able to see the podcast that he is on. This is Howard Beck, an NBA insider and a writer, talking about this. But, he's speculating that, look, Houston, he talks about Miami, he talks about the LA teams, which in all honesty, in all the teams that should be interested, it should be the Houston Rockets. I think that the Houston Rockets are a team that makes a lot of sense because they have draft capital to give up, and they also have some young pieces to give up. And I think that they could do it in a way that they don't absolutely gut their team, and they could still somewhat be on their timeline. The Chicago Bulls cannot afford to do that. Like, when you lose the young stars that you have, once again, a Coby White, a Modest Bazelis, and then also to a Josh Giddey, like, it just essentially, you have just torn down the team, you've gutted it, and you've restarted it. And I just don't think the Bulls would ever put enough pieces around Giannis to compete. So it is a hard no for me. But you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. Once again, just talking about the link here that we saw with, a insider saying that the Chicago Bulls might be on the list of teams that Giannis would want to go to. And once again, I think they threw Chicago in there. So keyword when you see that. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. Do you feel like Giannis should be with the Chicago Bulls? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Make sure you press that like and subscribe. And as we always say, go Bulls. And I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.